In our last episodes, after getting high in the field, Yellow Shoes and White took a high-speed high jump over the fence back into the hub to escape the police. With other high and mighty hijinks going on, Yellow Shoes jumped high over another fence, with high hopes of joining another group getting high in another field. Meanwhile, the guy with the white shoes and yellow hat was so high-wired he thought his belt was attacking him. And the high point came when he punished it for its high treason. Whereas these high rollers, betting high stakes in the name of high fashion, had the high expectation of a lot more high maintenance. While over on the wall, these two high-pitched their bottle bong and lost it, but found another bottle in another place to shift into high gear. And this guy, needing a high chair, came off his high horse and just wanted to share the high. Just like this high hat, but here it was more like a high score. And these high fives hit a high-quality high note, knowing that any time is high time, whether it's high tide or high noon. But some just felt that the high risk of being high profile was too high impact, and were high-minded enough to try and hide their faces. In a place used so often by so many, it's become known as a high-frequency, high-capacity area. And this one, who seemed high but was actually low, needed help for a high rise and a high resolution. Whether high key or high strung or practicing for high heels, they may just be in high spirits. Except for this high-class guy whose high fidelity to aim high wasn't high-tech, and eventually hit the high-flying high road in the high end. Confused? You won't be after this episode of Dope. It's 1:07 in the morning. It's the night of November 26th, the morning of November 27th, 2019. There's two in the smoking corner over there, right beside the door to the shelters, the connections shelter. The one leaning against the wall, who looks like he can barely stand, has been smoking crack, or what appears to be a crack pipe, for the last few minutes. Here's a shot of the rest of the hub. You won't see one security guard out walking around, or one staff in one of their little shirts anywhere. This shelter dude is so high that if it weren't for the wall behind him, you can clearly see he'd be on the ground right now. He can barely stand up straight. This is the reality of the hub. Shelter attendees can just step outside and get as high as they want on whatever substance they want, and then go back in and find a safe place to sleep. The Region of York said in a distributed flyer type question and answer sheet in 2013 that 360 Kids is not equipped to handle people with drug and alcohol addictions or mental health problems, and they would be referred to proper agencies. Apparently that's not entirely the case. When you're donating money to 360 Kids, this is what you're donating to. Enabling drug users to have a place to get high. When or if he's able to walk. Yeah, let's pause this here for a moment. It's now 1:12 in the morning. Let's see if he's even able to walk. He can barely stand up straight. Unbelievable. This is why you don't do drugs, people. And right into the connections shelter. With help, of course. Because he was so stoned that he could barely walk straight. The 360 Kids Connections shelter. For nearly 4 years, have been allowing this kind of activity to go on. Like tonight, 1:15 almost in the morning, It's a Tuesday night. Curfew was 11 p.m. supposedly. This is the reality of the hub. Now that the cracked-out guy managed to stay on his feet, will he also manage to stay in the shelter, or will he be back out for another performance? And speaking of performance, will our tiny dancer ever get a call from the Moscow Ballet, or would that be Russian things? Will the daytime drug parties at the hub ever stop? And if they do stop, will the nighttime drug parties at the hub ever stop? And if they don't stop, will they at least stop bumping into walls when they try to walk? Will they find new places, which are actually old places with new faces? Or will they just remember where their place is? And is this group undecided about quitting their drug use? Or have they decided to just wait for a sign? And if there was a sign that said private property, no loitering, no trespassing, would these guys be sober enough to read it? And what drugs is this character on? Where did he find them? And will he find the shelter before he finds the ground? And when she's hitting a bong all by herself at the bank on private property, is it considered a private party even though it's out in public? And when more people show up to the private-public party on private property, is it still a party when the police show up? Or is the party over? And are staff at the shelter glad that she at least dumped her bong water before coming back into the shelter? Or is the shelter a water-free zone? And why is Mr. White trespassing again on the property? Is he looking for a place to do drugs? For that matter, why is Fence Jumper trespassing again on the property? Is he looking for a place to sell drugs? And exactly what the hell is going on here? These questions and many others will be answered on the next episode of Dope. But this is not a fictional show on television. This is the reality of the hub.